So Tapad is a cross-device identity resolution provider. So what does that mean? We connect identifiers from different devices across mobile, desktop, and CTV into clusters or groupings that are probabilistically associated with each other. So if we'll see a mobile ad ID and a cookie and a CTV ID, our goal and what we do through our graph is to associate those identifiers for marketers and advertisers to be able to do things like reach extension or measurement or attribution.
Mark, so could you explain to us a little bit how you work a little bit with like retailers, brands, kind of how that functions?
Sure. So a customer of ours will work with us to match data that they have with data in our graph. So IDs that they have with IDs that we have in our graph. So they will share either it could be a cookie through a pixel flyer on their site, or a batch of IDs that they have that are associated with customers, or even just people that have visited their site. They may not know anything about them other than they visited their site, but they want to then reach that ID again, or in other environments, perhaps. So it's a way for that brand or advertiser to say, okay, here's a number of IDs. I would like to have the ability to address those IDs in the ecosystem, but I want to do beyond what my known IDs. I want to target IDs that are associated with them as well. And if I have a desktop cookie, I may want to target or reach someone in a mobile environment or in a CTV environment. And importantly, this is all done in a privacy safe sort of way, so that the brand has a way to both kind of respectfully address their consumer in an omnichannel environment by not just seeing them, or rather reaching them with advertising, but also them being able to measure the effectiveness of that advertising by channel or by publisher. So it really is giving them, taking what is a kind of a keyhole view of an identifier and broadening that view so that they have an understanding of that consumer across channels.
So what's the value of sort of a probabilistic versus deterministic? I mean, they're different. If you look at the needs of marketers, and they have different needs, what's the difference?
Yeah, importantly, and I think over the past couple of years, there's been greater clarity in the ecosystem around this, particularly as there's been more demand for identity resolution, is that it's not an either or. There are use cases for smaller scale deterministic data sets, or sort of cross-device reference, and then a probabilistic solution is one which is typically has much larger scale, and as a result is much more useful for the advertising sort of reach extension measurement attribution ecosystem, where a deterministic data or cross-device solution or a deterministic graph may be based on an email or a hashed email. The scale there is typically much lower, and as a result, very good for certain use cases within brands and marketers, but not necessarily providing the scale, depth, and breadth, and importantly, even a global footprint for identity resolution. And ours is both scaled as well as global, and oftentimes the deterministic email-based, for instance, identity resolution providers or solutions are more limited in geography as well.
I see, and we hear a lot about the acceleration around connected TV, and where does identity solution fit into the, into CTV and its growth and its value in terms of planning and performance? And what are you guys doing there?
Yeah, it's been a great development. The growth in the space has been a great development for our business, as it's another very important ID that fits into our graph that I referred to earlier. So whether we have mobile ad identifiers or cookies or CTV, now we have CTV IDs at scale. It's another way for a marketer to develop an even more omni-channel view of their consumer. In our world, is just by associating those IDs in each environment with each other. so that a brand can say, okay, if I've served an ad in this environment in mobile, and that person's also seen an ad in a CTV environment or an addressable TV environment, that I can associate those and make determinations around the efficiency of my ad spend, where I should spend my ad dollars, understand path to purchase, and how you can address the customer in each of these channels. And CTV is just becoming a much more important part of the ecosystem, and like the ecosystem, a much more important part of cross-device identity.
And Mark, not to get too deep in the weeds, but what are the data points that you guys use when you're figuring out the identity solution? Where do you get that data? How robust is it? And perhaps how those sources are changing to be more available or perhaps less available. But give us an idea.
Yeah, a very dynamic ecosystem, obviously, given lots of developments that have happened over the past 6 to 12 months. We get most of our data signals from our customers. So they both are beneficiaries of our graph, but also contributors to the graph. And it's kind of the more that you participate, the better off all other participants are. And those elements of data that we get are usually cookies, mobile ad IDs, both Android and Apple, as well as various connected TV IDs from the different providers. That's kind of the mix of IDs that we have in our graph. And that's importantly, we're not looking at user behavior. We don't have profiles. We don't know anything about what people are doing on these devices, nor do we want to. We just want to associate these devices or these identifiers with each other, so that marketers can understand a better picture of where to spend what and how to spend their ad dollars, or how to measure the performance. So it's and those identifiers will continue to change, right? There's changes coming in the Google environment with cookies, probably 18 months or so from now. Although Google has signaled that it may be longer, depending on how ready the ecosystem is. So where things like that are occurring, there's a lot of investment happening across the ecosystem with new identifiers. In our world, that's just kind of a new data element. And our investment is in both ensuring that we have an identifier that can be used as a currency within our graph, but also looking at all other identifiers that may be used, and how can we work with the ecosystem as a whole to ingest those IDs to continue to provide the service that we provide today. So it's you're going to see a lot of new identifiers coming to market. You already have a number of companies have announced initiatives to create their own ID. Our focus is on ensuring that brands and advertisers, agencies, ad tech, martech platforms have access to those identifiers at scale, so that they can understand their consumer in an omnichannel environment.
And Mark, tell us about your roadmap, sort of what's next for you guys over the 6 to 12 months. And of course, you're a global company. Where are the opportunities for growth, and maybe what are your hopes and plans?
Sure. Certainly CTV ID and continuing to scale that is an area of investment for us. On a global basis, there are certain geographies where those IDs are more readily available than others. And that's how we kind of view the world within Tapad anyways. We source data from customers and partners on a global basis where data is available and where data needs to be utilized. So I think that's certainly an area of investment. I alluded to the sort of changing dynamic of the ecosystem around third-party cookies, the growing use of first-party cookies or first-party data. Those are areas where we have been and will continue to invest to ensure that the sort of integrity of our graph and the integrity and usefulness of the IDs at scale on a global basis is maintained. So, understanding and investing in areas around first-party data usage, for instance, is certainly an area that first-party identity, anyways, and first-party data is an area where you'll see significant investment in the ecosystem generally, and certainly within Tapad as well.